Hey, and now I want to talk about distortion. Distortion, I believe, is an important part of subtractive synthesis because what they did back in the day is they didn't just stop at the output kind of signal. What they would do, particularly with Moog synths, is they would have the output, they'd feed it back into the input to get some distortion. They'd hook it up to guitar amps and whatnot, and generally Subtractive use a filter, right, to take away your frequencies, right, and then you'd use distortion or saturation to bring them back, and that's why a lot of modern synths now have distortion sections. The Virus in particular has a very large one, and it's in my opinion, an important part of subtractive synthesis. So we're going to be going over that and what it does to shape the sound. So right now we have a saw. I want to show you an example. Right now we have a wave. You can see that in the bottom right. We have a sine wave. And I want to show you what an overdrive can do to a sine wave. You can literally turn it into a square wave, right? So, as an example, you have a square wave. We'll start out with one right here. You can actually filter that out into a sine wave, and then set the overdrive to turn it back into a square wave. Isn't that interesting? And that's the magic of subtractive synthesis. You can change the sound. You can take away all the harmonics, and then you can add some new ones back. And it's a combination of all these that really does some interesting things. So we have an open filter. We'll try some distortion. Right? That added some low end. That's because it added a full, it's kind of a sine wave. Adding a sine wave is all bass, right? So, oops, right? That's all bass. So we can use distortion to add, sinusoidal pressure to sounds, and generally have a grand old time, particularly with, let's say, yeah, right here. Yeah, lots of low end. So distortion can really add, or overdrive can really add, well, distortion in general, overdrive in particular. Foldback. Foldback is when you clip, you cut things off, right? All the top end. But foldback, it will. Here, I'll show you when you clip. Right, we have a sine wave. We have a sine wave going in. We can clip that. Right, it's cutting off all those harmonics that go above a certain point. With foldback, it folds it, basically folds it back. So right there, it's starting to clip. Then we fold it back. Right, we can do that with other sound. And you're basically shaping and getting different wave shapes, which is interesting. Clip, you can add basically anything. You can turn anything into a sine or a square. Right, by nature, decimate. It reduces the bit rate, or it makes it digital. See those lines? That means, or those boxes. It's also kind of starting to jitter, and you can mix between wet and dry. Which is a fun, and a bit crush completely damages it. So you can use that on a sine. To give it a nice kind of harmonic. So you have kind of a pulse. So it's a mixture of your shape. The shape is just a starting point, really. And you mix that with your cutoff and your distortion. Well, what happens if we use a different kind of cutoff? Bandpass. What happens here? Absolutely nothing. Clip. Oh, I see. What are we getting? We're kind of getting a triangle. Let's try with the saw. We're getting a lot of harmonics there. A lot of harmonics. We'll try some overdrive. And you can experiment. You can set an LFO to that cutoff. So it's like a wah-wah pedal. And this is the heart of synthesis. Or subtractive synthesis. This is like Endgame. This is like the end of the movie when Will Smith saves the world. Different filter types, accentuating different harmonics with distortion really brings it together. And then your high pass. And then you can add some drive too if you're feeling adventurous. So now we're creating different wave shapes and harmonics. Which to me sound pretty cool. And that all starts from a basic wave. And I want to show you what phase does really quickly. Phase in oscillators. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't really matter. But so we have two saw waves re-triggered at the same time, right? We have just volume. If we phase, the oscillator starts and stops at a different time. Doesn't matter by itself, but in the context of another oscillator, you can hear it. Right, so it's shifting. Right, so yeah, that's pretty fun. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it.